What is up, YouTube? It is Coach Kolton here to bring you physique development tools, skills, and opinions that hopefully you can use for yourself to make some gains. Today is another sad day in a list of sad days. Rhoden has passed away. Cali Muscle has had a massive heart attack where he supposedly had 100% blockage in his carotid artery, which is on the left side of the heart, which I don't think that's actually feasible. He'd be likely dead, but it was probably really blocked. John Meadows passed away. A lot of people are passing away, and it's due to usually heart-related issues. And I figured I wanted to talk about it and address it and kind of bring some things to the forefront that many people aren't considering. And one of those things right off the bat is people talking about that potentially, this could be related to the jab, the C word. And the reality of that situation is there's a correlation there, but there's absolutely zero causation. Yes, there's some data to suggest that there's some clotting factors that are increased due to the C word, but I truly don't think there's causation. This is just a stacking of issues on top of an already massive issue relating to bodybuilders and their health. I don't think that's directly what's causing these things to all of a sudden happen. I think it's just a buildup of pressure we've been kind of putting off in the youth. And as these bodybuilders are aging, you get to see these things come to fruition more. What I do believe this is a conglomeration of things. Primarily, social media is really driving the usage of compounds year-round and being in a deleterious situation for health year-round. When we're on social media, we get hyped up very rapidly when we are shredded, big and round, full, and strong. And when we're not big, round, full, and strong, people make very harsh comments about, bro, you're not on, you got off cycle or what, bro, or, you don't look good, bro, what happened? Or like just even it might be innocuous to them to say such things, but to that individual, and this is something I've experienced, it's very detrimental to the mindset, because whether we like to believe it or not, in the fitness industry, which is a very toxic industry in and of itself, the physique is your ego, and that's bringing the problem to the forefront, right? When you're commenting on people's egos, it's very personal. So immediately when someone notices a difference that might be better or worse, it's very, very impactful to that person's psyche, speaking from personal endeavors. So, a lot of these people will take Cali Muscle, for example. He was doing absolutely everything to create a social media figure of himself, doing mukbang challenges, eating copious amounts of food, 20K calorie challenges, eating every menu item at Arby's, or fried chicken. How much fried chicken can you eat? Doing those things while simultaneously being big and shredded. That's not going to lead to a healthy body, whether he looks healthy or not. It's those things he's doing in light of social media. He wants to portray a person. He wants to look a certain way, and unfortunately that way is what probably led to his heart attack. Also, this is a problem of age. Okay, these people are dying in their late 40s. What do we know about obese individuals? They die in their late 40s typically from the same sort of issues. Cardiovascular events are happening at this time in frame with obese individuals. And quite frankly, at that age, there's no reason to be over 260, 270 pounds walking around like a normal bystander. As you age, it's more advantageous to be sedentary and have an active lifestyle, in the sense of you're walking and doing cardiovascular work, as opposed to doing any sort of strenuous sort of working out and resistance training and using compounds and so on. While their outside appearance may look healthy, and it might seem initially like they're the pinnacle of what we might call health, their internal organs are very much like an obese person. We consider how much a bodybuilder eats on a day-to-day basis, it's much like an obese person. If we consider the amount of insulin resistance that has been built up into a bodybuilder, including myself, these things are trackable, it is quite frank that the internal organs are accumulating fat and steatosis or scarring very, very rapidly, just like an obese person would. On the external, they're the same body weight, The only thing that's different is the body composition. Internal organs are still experiencing that same sort of stress and inflammation that an obese person would. So it's like these people are living that chronic lifestyle. I guarantee some of these bodybuilders are living a life where they haven't fasted for more than 10 hours, which is like an overnight sleep, for decades, right? And that's just going to lead to these particular issues. Another thing as it comes into play is just drugs, right? Obviously, that's the part of the equation that matters. These drugs sway lipid panels just like an obese person. They create those plaque deposits. They create amyloid plaque buildup in the brain. It just does the same exact thing. It's changing one thing for a cost, right? Biology is not free lunch. You can get bigger, you have more anabolism, but on the tail end of that, you have lipid profiles that are skewed, neurotoxins that are released, a plethora of different mechanisms and actions happening within the body related to the androgen receptor that is not good. A lot of bad things happen as it relates to drugs, and because of the light of social media and always wanting to be big and appealing to the individual, we get that sort of chronic usage where people aren't taking breaks, or if they take a break of a cycle, it's maybe for 8 weeks of a lower dose of testosterone, which might be like 400 milligrams, right? No one's really doing what they used to do back in the day, which was like literally going to almost nothing, if not anything at all. And then, 20 weeks later, when the competition's around the corner in 20 weeks or so, then you hop on something. Like, that's not heard of anymore. It's quite frankly, you just run things year round until it's like too late, right? That's the kind of the sad thing. And just general inflammation as it relates to the drugs, as it relates to the training, as it relates to the food we eat. That inflammation is going to compound and compound and compound, and you get high C-reactive protein measures, you get high tumor necrosis factors, you get high IL-6, you get all these awful things building up in your system, which are just markers for inflammation. But that inflammation builds that sort of arterial wall thickening, arteriosclerosis, and causes these issues, causes heart attacks, causes palpitations, causes these water retention that Cali Muscle said he had for years without noticing or doing anything about it. This is the reason why these bodybuilders are dying. It's not because of some C word or something like that. It's a compound of negligence that has led to these outcomes. So what can you do about this as a bodybuilder? Maybe you're concerned and you've seen the news as of lately with all the people passing away, unfortunately. Like 3, let alone in the last 3 months. That's pretty massive, right? And you're probably thinking like, oh my God, like what do I do? Well, one, there's a long list, so bear with me. One, cardio, okay? I do high intensity cardio every single fucking morning. Every single morning. On my bike, high intensity cardio. No bodybuilder wants to do high intensity anything besides lifting weights. But you gotta do it. I do 25 minutes of high intensity cardio. That's not just pedaling casually. That's not walking on an incline. That's pedaling my ass off on that bike and a resistance that's very high, which gets me pumped, gets me literally sore, gets me dripping sweat and profusely breathing. High intensity cardio to keep my heart healthy. 25 minutes every single day. People need to do cardio. No, your fucking walking is not going to cut it. Your walking at an incline is not going to cut it. Do something that's actually cardiovascular or cardiorespiratorily challenging. Do not just expect you're going to be fine and you get to live like a fat person because you lift weights. That is how this thing will happen. That is how you'll have heart disease. The other thing you can do, Cali Muscle mentioned he had swelling of his ankles and wrists for years. Okay, that's an immediate red flag, because if he would have done any sort of organ imaging, ultrasounds of the heart, echocardiograms, right? Ultrasounds of his kidneys and liver, he would have easily seen and detected probably 10 fucking years ago that this was going to happen, right? A blockage doesn't just happen overnight. It takes years and years of compounding bullshit to get that kind of problem to occur. Getting imaging is so crucial. I do this twice a year and I recommend everyone does. It doesn't cost as much as people like to make it seem out like it does. It's not super expensive. And most of the time, insurance is going to cover it at least once a year. My insurance covers it twice a year. So I go twice a year. I get my heart checked out. I do an EKG subsequently after my image of my heart was scanned. I do liver ultrasounds, I do kidney ultrasounds. What do you do in combination with that? You go to the doctor and you get blood work. You do dimer tests to see how many clotting factors you have in your blood. You do normal lipid panels. You do all the metabolic panels and the comprehensive metabolic panels that you need to do just to see the basics. And then you get into cystatin C and CRP to see where your inflammation markers are. These things are so important, but no one's doing them. You should be taking blood work if you're a bodybuilder using some compounds at least 4 times a year. At least. I do it every 2 months. Roughly 10 weeks. Do your blood work. Do the organ imaging. That's the only way you're going to know, hey, things are going downhill fast before it's too late. Because once your heart fails, it's not going to recover. It will slightly recover, but it's certainly not going to be 100%. And you'll be living with that for the rest of your life if you don't have to already get a heart transplant. You know, talk to people who've gotten that done. Right? It's not a good quality of life that they live after a heart transplant. It's just not. It's scary to think that people just don't do their due diligence and check things out. I think that normal people should get blood work rapidly, but not even that, right? Just do, even if it's just once a year, do yourself the due diligence and get the fucking imaging done. Don't pay for more growth hormone. Don't pay for more anabolics. Pay for imaging, okay? This is the only way you're going to be able to know if those heart palpitations you're feeling are relative to something much, much worse. What else could you do? DNA analysis. Check your DNA. Are you a carrier of polymorphism that's going to lead to higher propensities to store calcium or get plaque buildup? Are you one of those persons that has a high propensity to get cholesterol really spiked from things like eggs and red meats? You know, figure these things out and determine, is it in your code to have high blood pressure frequently? You know, these are things you really need to look at. Check your fucking blood pressure. Put an a wrist cuff on. Track the trends. They're not accurate, but track the trends. Is your blood pressure going up? Is it going down? What is it doing when you do what intervention? People don't even track their blood pressure. I get a lot of clients who say, hey man, like, what was your last blood pressure reading? I haven't measured it for 2 years. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? That is the one thing that is a great indicator to basically everything I've already mentioned, and you don't even do that. That shit's scary. What else can you do? There's a boatload of pharmaceutical drugs that can prevent these things. You have PCSK9 inhibitors. You have SGLT2 inhibitors. You have ezetimibe, statins. You have ARBs like telmisartan. You have ACE inhibitors. These things are all should be in play if you have androgen in your system at all. You should be using these. And one might say, well, I can't really afford all these other things. Well, then don't fucking do steroids, right? Don't buy the growth hormone because you are going to kill yourself, right? I take every one of these things. I take a statin. I take ezetimibe. I take metformin. I take telmisartan at 40 milligrams a day. Taking these drugs will save your life. It will create an environment where your heart doesn't have to remodel. It'll create an environment where plaque doesn't build up in your arteries. It allows you to live longer and follow the pursuits you want to without having detriments to your health. Is there going to be detriments? Fuck yeah. If you eat like Cali Muscle and train and do the drugs like him, there's going to be detriments still. But these things will modulate those and impair the outcomes to a better degree more favorably in the long run, by far. And they're cheap. They're really cost effective. And at the end of the day, a year's supply of any of those drugs aforementioned is very, very reasonable and feasible for anybody using. And I need you guys to listen to this. Ezetimibe, a PCSK9 inhibitor, ARB like telmisartan is a phenomenal one. You have ACE inhibitors. Things like nebivolol would be a great one. Use these drugs to get out of that poor metabolic situation and provide yourself with more life and longevity in this pursuit. And really the biggest thing that we can take away from this is with both Sean Rhoden and Cali Muscle, we knew that they didn't like cardio, okay? You never see them doing cardio at any rate. But two, we know that they also eat like shit. I mean, you don't need to go far to find Cali Muscle's YouTube videos of him binge eating multiple times a week. But Sean Rhoden is also known for getting off, and this is what's also interesting, he gets off basically everything, flattens down to the size of a normal man, not really, but you know what I mean, and gets pretty fat. He eats a lot of food, he indulges in food in the off seasons. I saw him several weeks ago at the Olympia. he looked like a normal dad bod kind of guy with a big beer belly. Like, these people don't eat smart even when they're off of the drugs, okay? So that's compounding again. Don't eat like an asshole. Eat responsibly. Eat in health orientation in mind. How would a healthy person eat is what you need to be asking yourself. Would a person with no eating disorders eat like this when you are in front of 3 burgers and 3 fries, right? Those are the questions you need to be asking yourself, and ask yourself, is this going to be a detriment to my health, or is it going to potentially improve my health? When you have olive oil with salmon in front of you, or 3 burgers and a large fry, which one of those is going to be more preferable? That's an easy question you should be able to answer for yourself. So really, that's all I have for this video, guys. Please, if you need any advice, any guidance, if you're experiencing palpitations, water retention, if you're experiencing like dizziness when standing up, or random sort of attacks with your heart where it starts beating really fast, reach out to me. First of all, go to your doctor, but secondarily, if you're too scared to do that, reach out to me, DM me, go to my Instagram, it's in the link below. DM me all day long. I am here to talk to literally anyone about these things. I don't care that I coach you or not. I need people to take care of themselves to keep this sport going. It's the love of my life, and there's ways to intervene instead of having heart attacks and dying.